Yeah, thank you so much, Tor. This was so nice introduction. So my task will be to give an overview of parenting leave policies in Estonia, and we also will speak a bit about policy changes and research challenges. So mostly all the policies are coming from somewhere, and also in Estonia we have very strong historical roots. And as in many countries, everything started from maternity leave. And it comes from Soviet Union period. And on 60s and 70s, I think it was rather generous. So all mothers were entitled to maternity leave, but it was rather short, and it was really only maternity leave. Then after independence, part of the leave period was also shared or started to be shared with fathers, and there were moments where by law grandparents and other family members could be entitled to leave as well. Paternity leave was established only in 2008, and at the very beginning it was very short period, and it was definitely inspired by experience with other countries, especially Nordic countries. And what happened in recent years is that the bigger share of all the leaves had become shared. And the very recent development is that within the period of shared parental leave, there is period where both parents can simultaneously take the leave. So it's like shared. Okay, so and very shortly, once again, what happened in recent years, one very essential policy change occurred in 2008, because before parental leave benefits were always flat. And 2008, it was one of the biggest family policy change whenever in Estonian history as well. And it meant that parental leave became income dependent, and the coverage rate was 100%. And altogether, it meant also very large increase of total amount of benefits and total amount in family policy. And later on, we have had several surveys about the impact of that policy change, and we indeed see it in demography. As expected, it changed the fertility behavior of parents. So partly that caused postponement because parents were motivated to acquire higher incomes before they plan to have child. And also the structure of the mothers changed. So we got more highly educated and with higher salaries mothers compared to previous years. Then also 2008, that was the beginning of father's leave days. At the very beginning, it was very like minimum, and fathers were not very keen to take these days, but there has been now development since that. And only 2020, paternity leave was prolonged to 30 days. So it's 1 month, but it's still voluntary. So it's use or lose, on the principle of use or lose. And since 2022, the main keyword in changing parental leave policies has been flexibility. And there has been lots of changes in all kinds. And even sometimes I think perhaps parents have been a bit confused, and lawyers, because there has been constant changes every year. But once again, the guiding idea behind all these policy implementations were flexibility. So the ministry wanted to make the take up of parental leave as convenient and easy and nice as possible. So what did it mean? So first, there were lots of changes. What basically meant, and before we had some like certain periods for mothers and shared leave, and then leave based on health care arguments. So they wanted to disappear these clear barriers. And instead of two different maternity leaves, like pre-birth maternity leave and normal maternity leave entitled only for mothers, was established just one maternal leave, what lasted now less. But these 40 days less, they became shared leave. So, and also different types of additional leaves were added. For example, not directly related to childbirth, but having child and for employed parents who could get now the normal leave, extra leave days from the employment, 10 days per every child, but not more than 1 month altogether, regardless of number of children. So 2024, same-sex parents got the same rights like other parents, but it was more related to same-sex laws implementation. And very recent change is that the shared leave can start earlier than before, because one of the policy debate was also around the role of mother around the childbirth. And one very strong early argument was that this is the mother who should stay at home with a newborn child. And that was the reason why perhaps the leave period entitled only for mothers was longer before, after the birth of child, but now it's had shortened, and instead the shared parental leave had taken bigger share. The other very strong debate related to these policy changes was and is still related to income related coverage of parental leave benefits. And the main fighting arguments are whether all children should be treated equally, or the life of child can be dependent on income of parents. It was one of the main family policy teams on 2008 and around it, but it's still existing. So every year we have some movements and government gets some policy implementation proposals related to that theme. So how all the system looks like currently. So you see all the different schemes. So the first is maternity leave. Mothers can take it currently maximum 100 days, and basically all mothers use it. So it can start up to 70 days before birth, planned birth, and 30 days after birth, but this is kind of flexible. It depends. And paternity leave only for fathers lasts 30 days. And also fathers can take it already before the birth of child. But interestingly, they are eligible for the very same leave until their child is 3 years old. So after maternity and paternity leave, the normal and the longest period of leave starts after 1 month birthday of a child. this is shared between parents. Parents can decide who is going to take that. And the new innovative part, or at least in Estonia, is that within this shared leave, there can be also 60 days when both parents are at the same time on the leave. And also the newest developments are these additional employment-related leaves, 10 days per child. Who are eligible? So basically in Estonia, all inhabitants who live in Estonia are eligible, and all get the leave and get the benefits, but the length and sometimes also the coverage may depend on employment status, or actually it is dependent on employment status. But all mothers and fathers are entitled to something, and usually the system goes if you are not employed before birth of a child, so your leave period might be shorter, or you just see you get just a minimum rate of coverage. And more precisely, what are else perhaps important indicators? In Estonia, it's very complicated because the leave is not really leave. That means that parents can actually work, but it depends now on leave type of leave. So, for example, in case of maternity leave, mothers are not allowed to work at the same time when we are on the leave. That this is the same is true for paternity leave, but in case of the shared leave schemes, it actually not required, but that parents should be totally on leave. They can they can work. And so far it was limited to certain amount of income or salary precisely, but starting from next year, they want to abolish all limitations. So you can work and you can be at the same time on the leave and get the leave benefits. So the second perhaps indicator is whether the leave period is entitled on social security insurance, and all leave periods are covered or social insurance by government, except paternity leave. Yes, and also once again, there is a length. The maternity leave is 100 days, but it can be also used as shared days, and there is 100% coverage of a previous salary. Paternity leave is 30 days, once again 100% coverage of previous salary, and shared leaves starting since the first month birthday of a child, and usually last 3 years, or precisely 475 calendar days. But this is also a bit kind of flexible. It depends how much days have used by maternity leave and so on. And there is also some exceptions for large families. And once again, the coverage is 100% in terms of benefits. So benefit level usually depends on employment status of parents, or more precisely of paid the social insurance tax, and then also within family decisions, so namely who is entitled when the parents are taking the leaves one by one. And there is once again that all leave systems, they basically have the lower ceiling, and some of them have also upper ceiling. All parents staying on leave always get some benefits or compensation for that period. There cannot be that somebody's without compensation, but the compensation level might depend on your previous work history. For example, for mothers, it's 725 euros per month if they didn't have any taxable income before the birth. But if they had, but the salary was just so low, lower than minimum wage, so it's still fixed level. It's 820. And there is no upper limit. It really depends on earned salary. And for paternity leave, there is minimum and maximum. And for shared leave period, there is also minimum and maximum. So as I told, there is especially the shared leave part is very complex and complicated, and therefore perhaps there can be some peculiar things in our system. Basically, it means that the leave period and benefit days are not directly related, so you can get benefits without being physically on leave. So it's why I think, although it doesn't seems to be logical, but I think that's the kind of result of policy development process, how it happened. It can be also that if neither of the parents is on the parental leave, they can still choose which of them will receive the shared parental benefit. Yes, and then we have something what is called Swedish speed premium. Sorry. That means that if the parents get the next child before 2 years, so they parental leave benefits are calculated on the base of salary of the first child or before the birth of the first child, because meanwhile being on the leave, they can't perhaps earn so high salaries. And that would be unmotivating to have a second child, or they will the period before the birth of the children will be too long. So not to avoid these long periods, so there is the benefit level is calculated on before the first child birth salary based. And because the system seems to be quite complicated, there is also one positive thing. Perhaps you have heard that we are in Estonia, we are a very digital country. We have e-government. And indeed, especially in recent years, this is very nice that our social insurance board helps parents with this complicated situation. And once they have a child, so basically they will send the parents the offer and information, what all kind of benefits they are entitled to, and what are the options to use the parental leave. And so there is individual pages for parents where they can see how much leave they have already used and how much is left. This is very useful in case of such a super flexible system. What are the uptake rates? Basically, all mothers, of course, use maternity leave. In case of paternity leave, it's surprisingly high. If I look the recent statistics, it's around 90%. About 19% of fathers take shared leave. And it has increased very quickly because in 2017, the same number was 6%. And we were struggling in the country very much how to motivate fathers to stay more with children. So the 19 is not like 50 but it's much better already. So what are the main themes in research of leave systems in Estonia? So of course, like basic themes, I think what all countries have, the take up, employment, reconciliation of work and family life, whether it's possible or not. Then gender issues, why fathers use or do not use leave benefits. And I added here also one very recent figure about the work of my colleagues who calculated their parenting price for mothers. And it's mainly parenting penalty. It's mainly related, of course, to parental leave period. There are different countries, and these columns basically show how much the parents will use their future salaries once they have raised a child. And here we see in international comparison that Estonia is somewhere in the middle. So what are our recent policies challenges? So I think I would personally wish that we could have more internationally comparative surveys on leave systems and their impacts, because there are quite many country-based studies, but I think the truth will relieve in comparisons. And from the practical point of view, when it comes to implementation of leave policies, so at least in Estonia, the main challenge is definition of family, because they have really struggling with entitlements because there's such a complexity and variety of different family arrangements. Not all of them are official, but nowadays, of course, we want to somehow take also into account kind of real, not official arrangements. But in that situation, how to calculate all those leaves, and especially when it comes to shared leave entitlements. So thank you. That was a very short overview about parental leave policies in Estonia.